Day One stood in the massive chamber and tried not to show his nervousness. The Galactic Council Station was unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls curved upward into a dome that displayed the stars outside, making it feel like they were floating in space itself. Around the circular room sat representatives from 47 different alien species, each one stranger than the last. Some had scales that shimmered like oil on water. Others had multiple limbs or eyes that glowed in the dim light. A few didn't even have recognizable faces. Day One had trained for this moment for 5 years, but nothing could truly prepare a human for meeting creatures from other worlds. Next to him, Hana adjusted her datapad for the third time. She was younger than Day One, a brilliant scientist who had spent her entire career studying the possibility of alien life. Now that dream was real, and she looked like she might faint from excitement. "Remember," Day One whispered to her, "we're here to build bridges, not to impress them." "Easy for you to say," Hana whispered back. "You're not the one who has to explain human biology to beings made of crystal." At the center of the chamber, a tall creature rose to its full height. This was Velthros, representative of a species that humans had privately nicknamed the Raptors, because they looked like dinosaurs mixed with wolves. Sharp teeth, powerful legs, claws that could tear through steel. Everything about Velthros screamed predator. "The Council recognizes the human delegation," Velthros said. His voice came through a translation device that turned his growls into words. "You may present your case for joining the galactic community." Day One stepped forward. 3 days of negotiations had led to this moment. 3 days of careful questions and cautious answers. 3 days of trying to convince these beings that humanity deserved a place among the stars. "Honored Council," Day One began, "we come in peace and friendship. Earth offers knowledge, resources, and partnership to all who wish it." What followed was hours of discussion. The aliens asked about human technology, human government, human culture. Day One answered each question carefully. Some species seemed interested. Others seemed skeptical. A few seemed actively hostile, though Day One couldn't figure out why. Crix, an insectoid alien who served as mediator, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "Tell us about your young. How does your species raise the next generation?" It seemed like an odd question, but Day One had prepared for this too. "Human children are precious to us. We have extensive education systems to help them learn and grow." "Perhaps a demonstration would help," Hana suggested. She had noticed that many species responded better to visuals than to words. "May I show some footage of a typical human school?" The council murmured agreement. Hana activated her datapad, and a holographic image appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a playground at an elementary school back on Earth. Children ran and laughed playing games during their break time. Day One smiled at the familiar sight. He had chosen this footage himself because it showed humanity at its best. Happy, peaceful, innocent. Children on swings, children playing tag, children climbing on jungle gyms. It was perfect. Then he noticed the silence. Every alien in the chamber had gone completely still. Velthros had backed away from the hologram, his claws extended. Several smaller species had ducked behind their seats. One crystalline being was actually shaking. "Turn it off," someone hissed. Hana looked confused but complied. The hologram vanished. The silence that followed was deafening. "What?" Day One started to ask, but Velthros cut him off. "This session is concluded." The Predator's voice was tight with something that sounded like fear. "All delegates will return to their quarters immediately." "But we haven't finished," Day One protested. "Now!" Velthros roared, and suddenly 12 other species were roaring or hissing or making sounds of alarm. The chamber erupted into chaos. Aliens fled through various exits, some moving so fast they were just blurs. Within moments, only Day One, Hana, and Crix remained. The insectoid mediator approached them slowly, as if afraid they might attack. "What just happened?" Hana asked, her voice small and confused. Crix's many eyes fixed on them. "You showed us your young." "Yes," Day One said carefully. "Human children at play. It was meant to show our peaceful nature." "Peaceful?" Crix made a sound like choking. "Do you have any idea what we just witnessed?" "Children playing," Hana offered weakly. Crix began pacing, his many legs clicking on the floor. "I have served the Council for 60 standard years. I have seen the young of hundreds of species. Never have I seen anything like that." "Like what?" Day One demanded, his patience wearing thin. "They were just playing." Your young ones threw themselves from heights, Crix said. They engaged in mock combat with each other. They pursued and fled in complex patterns. They climbed structures that could collapse. They showed coordination and tactical thinking that most species don't develop until adulthood. He paused. And they did all of this willingly. For enjoyment. Daewon and Hana looked at each other. You mean the playground equipment? I mean everything! Crix's voice rose. Among my people, our young cannot even leave the hive until they reach their third molting. They must be fed and protected constantly. The thought of allowing them to engage in behavior like we just witnessed. He shuddered. It would be unthinkable. But human children need to play, Hana said. It's how they learn and develop. Exactly, Crix said quietly. That is what terrifies us. Daewon felt something cold settle in his stomach. I don't understand. Crix moved closer, his voice dropping to barely a whisper. In all of galactic history, only a handful of species have ever produced young who actively seek danger and practice combat without being forced. Do you know what happened to those species? What? Hana asked. They became the galaxy's greatest predators. Unstoppable, unconquerable. Crix paused. And then they destroyed themselves and everyone around them. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. We're not like that, Daewon said firmly. Humans are peaceful. We've come here to make friends, to trade, to learn. That's what they all said, Crix replied. In the beginning. He turned to leave, then stopped. My advice to you, Ambassador Daewon, is to return to your ship and wait. The Council will need time to decide what to do about humanity. Decide what to do? Daewon stepped forward. We haven't done anything wrong. No, Crix agreed. Not yet. But you've shown us what you're capable of becoming. And that, Ambassador, may be the most dangerous thing of all. With that, Crix scuttled away, leaving the two humans alone in the vast chamber. Above them, the stars continued to shine, indifferent to the crisis unfolding below. Hana's hands shook as she clutched her datapad. Daewon, what have we done? Daewon looked at the spot where the hologram had been. Simple footage of children at play, innocent and pure. Yet somehow it had declared humanity as a threat to the entire galaxy. I don't know, he admitted, but we're going to find out. And we're going to fix this. Outside the windows, the Council station's lights began to dim, one section at a time, as species after species locked themselves away from the human delegates. First contact had been made, and somehow humanity had already lost. Hana watched the footage for the 100th time, frame by frame. She had barely slept in the 3 days since the incident. The Council had confined them to their quarters on the station. Not quite prisoners, but definitely not free to leave. Daewon spent his time trying to arrange meetings with anyone who would talk to them. So far, no one would. There has to be something we're missing, Hana muttered, zooming in on a group of children playing tag. It's just kids having fun. A chime at the door made her jump. Daewon appeared from the other room, looking equally startled. Visitors were rare these days. Velthros stood in the doorway. The massive alien had to duck to fit through the human-sized entrance. His scales were darker than before, a sign of stress according to the files Hana had read. May I enter? He asked, his voice surprisingly gentle. Of course, Daewon said, though Hana noticed he positioned himself between her and the alien. Old military instincts died hard. Velthros settled onto the floor since human furniture couldn't support his weight. For a long moment, he simply stared at them with his amber eyes. I need to understand, he finally said. Are your young truly like what we saw? Or was that footage altered to test us? It was real, Hana confirmed. That was a normal Tuesday afternoon at a school in Seoul. Velthros made a sound like grinding stones. Fear, Hana realized. The predator was afraid. Tell me about your young, Daewon said carefully. How are they different from human children? The alien seemed to consider this. When my species gives birth, our young cannot walk, cannot feed themselves, cannot survive alone. For the first 3 cycles of our planet, they must be carried everywhere, protected from all threats. Even a fall from a small height could kill them. Human babies are similar, Hana offered. But your young in that footage were not babies, Velthros countered. They were clearly several cycles old. Yet they climbed, they jumped, they fought with each other. My people that age would still need constant supervision just to eat without choking. Hana pulled up another file. Maybe it would help if you saw the full developmental timeline. What followed was an hour of Velthros watching footage of human children at various ages. Babies learning to walk and constantly falling. Toddlers exploring everything they could reach. Young children testing boundaries and taking risks. Teenagers doing things that made even Hana cringe. With each new video, Velthros seemed to shrink further into himself. They seek out danger, he whispered. Deliberately. They seek out experiences, Day One corrected. Humans learn by doing, and when they are hurt, they heal and try again, Hana said. That's how children develop resilience. Velthros stood abruptly, pacing the small room like a caged animal. You don't understand what you're showing me. In all my years serving the council, I have studied hundreds of species. All of them. Every single one keeps their young safe until maturity. Protected, sheltered. The thought of allowing them to engage in combat, even mock combat, would be considered abuse. Combat? Day One frowned. You mean playing? That's what terrifies us. Velthros's voice rose. You call it playing. You think it's normal. But what we see is advanced tactical training starting from the earliest age. Pack coordination, ambush techniques, risk assessment, all disguised as games. The door chimed again. This time an elderly being floated in, its form shifting like smoke given shape. Hana recognized Elder Mextar from the council sessions, one of the oldest beings in known space. I heard you were here, Velthros, the elder said. I thought I might contribute to this discussion. Please. Day One gestured, though he wasn't sure where the elder should sit. Mextar settled into a corner, its form becoming more solid. I have seen many species in my time. Most are forgotten now, extinct or evolved beyond recognition. But I remember one in particular. They called themselves the Karnal. I've never heard of them, Hana said. Few have. They existed 3,000 years ago. A beautiful species, curious and intelligent. Their young were much like yours. Mixtar's form darkened. They played combat games. They tested themselves against danger. They formed complex social structures from childhood. They were innovators and explorers. What happened to them? Day One asked, though he dreaded the answer. They expanded across 12 systems in less than a century. They were unstoppable. But their predatory nature, the same trait that made them so successful, eventually turned inward. They destroyed themselves in a civil war that lasted 3 generations. When it ended, nothing remained but ruins and warnings. The room fell silent. There have been others, Mixtar continued. The Draknor, the Vextil, the Huntra, all species whose young showed the same patterns as human children. All became apex predators. All ultimately destroyed themselves and others around them. But we're not like that, Hana protested. Humanity has had wars, yes, but we've also built civilizations. We have art, music, literature, philosophy. We care for our sick and elderly. We protect endangered species. We're trying to reach for the stars peacefully. The Karnal said the same, Mixtar replied softly. In their early days. Day One felt his frustration building. So what are you saying? That we should be quarantined? Destroyed? What exactly is the council planning? We don't know yet, Velthros admitted. That's why I'm here. I needed to see if there was something we were missing. Some explanation for why your species allows your young to engage in such dangerous behavior. A new voice came from the doorway. Maybe I can help with that. Hana turned to see a woman in her 50s, carrying a briefcase and wearing the slightly rumpled look of someone who had just endured long-distance space travel. Dr. Tae Yang, Day One said, relief evident in his voice. You made it. I came as fast as I could, the child psychologist said, entering the room. She barely blinked at the sight of 2 aliens in the quarters. I understand you have some questions about human-child development? Over the next hour, Dr. Tae Yang walked them through decades of research. She explained how play was crucial for developing neural pathways, how children who didn't engage in physical activity often struggled with coordination and confidence, how social games taught cooperation, empathy, and conflict resolution. But the risk, Velthros interrupted. The danger. How can you justify it? Dr. Tae Yang smiled sadly. Because the alternative is worse. Children who are never allowed to take risks, who are constantly protected from every possible harm. They grow up anxious and unable to function independently. Humans need to learn their limits by testing them. We need to fail sometimes so we can learn to succeed. Your species accepts child mortality for the sake of development? Maxtar asked, its form rippling with what might have been shock. No, Dr. Tae-yang said firmly. We take extensive precautions. Playgrounds are designed to be challenging but safe. Adults supervise. We have medical care available. The death rate for children during play activities is incredibly low. But not zero, Velthros said. No, Dr. Tae-yang admitted. Not zero. Nothing in life is without risk. But we believe that children deserve the chance to grow strong, to learn, to become capable adults. And that requires letting them explore the world, even if it means sometimes they fall down. Velthros moved to the window, staring out at the stars. Do you know what I see when I look at your children's footage? I see future warriors, future conquerors, beings who will grow up knowing no fear because they were taught from birth to face danger and overcome it. Maybe, Daewon said, but you could also see future explorers, future scientists, future ambassadors who aren't afraid to reach out to strange new species and make friends. The question, Mixtar said quietly, is which future will humanity choose? Velthros turned back to face them. The council will convene tomorrow. They will decide whether to allow humanity into the galactic community or whether to isolate your species indefinitely. Based on how we raise our children, Hana asked incredulously. Based on what those children might become, Velthros corrected. He moved toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, I hope you prove us wrong. I hope humanity is different from all the others. After the aliens left, the three humans sat in silence. We need to show them, Dr. Tae-yang finally said. Not just tell them. They need to see human children in context, see how we actually raise them. The council won't allow it, Daewon said. They're too afraid. Then we convince them they're wrong to be afraid, Hana said, her jaw set with determination. We show them that human children aren't weapons in training. They're just children. Outside, the council station continued its slow orbit, while inside, species from across the galaxy debated the fate of humanity based on something as simple as children at play. The human vessel Unity wasn't large by military standards, but it was big enough to house a small classroom. Yuna stood at the front of the room looking at the 20 excited faces staring back at her. Ages 6 to 12, carefully selected from volunteers around the world. Each child had been briefed that they would be meeting aliens today. Now remember, Yuna said, keeping her voice calm despite her own nervousness. Our new friends might look very different from us. Some might be big, some might be small. Some might have scales or feathers or things we don't even have names for yet. Are they nice? Asked Jiwoo, an 8-year-old girl with pigtails and a gap-toothed smile. That's what we're here to find out, Yuna replied. But we're going to treat them with respect and kindness just like we would any new friend. Right, right, the children chorused. In the observation room above, separated by reinforced transparent aluminum, Daewon watched the alien delegation file in. Velthros led the group, followed by representatives from 3 other species. Each one looked ready to bolt at any moment. This is a terrible idea, Velthros muttered, not for the first time. It's the only way forward, Daewon replied. The council demanded proof that human children aren't being trained as warriors. Here's your proof. Real children in a real classroom doing normal activities. Nothing about this is normal, grumbled a slug-like alien named Glorax. Hana checked the recording equipment. Every moment would be documented for the council review. Dr. Tae-yang stood ready to explain any behavior that might seem strange to the aliens. Below, the children waited. Yoon, a 10-year-old boy with serious eyes, sat near the front. He had appointed himself as unofficial leader of the group, organizing the other children into their seats. They're coming, Yuna announced. The door at the side of the classroom opened. What happened next would be analyzed for years to come. The children saw the aliens enter. 4 beings that looked like nothing they had ever seen outside of movies. There was no screaming, no panic. Instead, 20 faces lit up with pure delight. Whoa, several children gasped. Jiwoo's hand shot up immediately. Ms. Yuna, can I ask a question? Of course, Jiwoo. The girl hopped out of her seat and walked right up to the transparent barrier separating them from the observation room. Velthros involuntarily took a step back. Your scales are so pretty, Jiwoo said, pressing her face against the barrier. Can I touch them? Do they feel smooth or bumpy? In the observation room, 3 of the 4 aliens looked ready to faint. She approached a predator, Glorx whispered. A child approached a predator without hesitation. She thinks we're interesting, Hana tried to explain.
Children are naturally
curious. Children are naturally afraid, Glorx countered. Fear keeps them alive. Below, Yoon had stood up as well. Everyone, let's show our new friends that we're friendly. Let's do the welcome circle. Without any adult direction, the 20 children moved into a perfect circle in the center of the room. They held hands and began singing a welcome song in 3 different languages, swaying in rhythm. Tactical formation. Velthros breathed. They moved into position in seconds. No hesitation. Perfect coordination. It's a game we play. Yuna tried to explain through the intercom. They practice it every time we have a new student. They practice tactical formations? Velthros's voice rose an octave. They practice being welcoming. Yuna protested. The song ended. The children broke the circle and returned to their seats, still watching the observation room with eager eyes. Ms. Yuna, Yoon said, raising his hand. Can the visitors come down here? It's hard to meet people through a window. Daewon saw every alien in the room stiffen. I don't think they're ready for that yet, Yuna said diplomatically. Oh. Yoon looked disappointed but accepting. Okay, then maybe we can play a game they can watch? To show them what we do for fun? That's a wonderful idea, Yuna said, relieved to have a structured activity. What game should we play? Hide and seek, suggested a 6-year-old named Min. Perfect, Yuna agreed. Everyone knows the rules. I'll count, you all hide. Remember to stay in the classroom. What the aliens witnessed over the next 10 minutes shattered every assumption they had about prey species behavior. Yuna closed her eyes and began counting. The children scattered, but they didn't just run randomly. Yuna immediately began directing others with hand signals. Small children were helped into better hiding spots by older ones. The group moved with practiced efficiency, making minimal noise. Advanced pack tactics, Velthros said, his voice barely audible. Nonverbal communication. Care for weaker pack members. Stealth movement. They're just playing hide and seek, Dr. Taeyang said desperately. They're practicing ambush techniques. Velthros shot back. Several children squeezed behind a bookshelf together. Others crouched under desks. Jiwoo climbed into a storage cabinet and closed the door. One brave soul hung from the bars of a climbing frame built into the wall. That child is dangling from a height, Glorx observed. For fun, ready or not, here I come. Yuna called out. She began searching, making a big show of looking in obvious places first. The children giggled from their hiding spots. When Yuna got close, they tried to muffle their laughter. Jiwoo was found first, bursting out of the cabinet with a shriek of delight. No fear of confined spaces, no panic at being discovered. Just joy, one by one the children were found. But here was the truly alien part to the observers. The children who were found didn't seem upset. They laughed, congratulated each other on good hiding spots, and immediately began planning better strategies for the next round. They analyze failure and adapt, Velthros said faintly. They treat defeat as a learning opportunity. Un was found last, having wedged himself behind a heating unit. Good game, Ms. Yuna, he said cheerfully. Want to play again? How about we do something quieter? Yuna suggested, noticing the aliens looked ready to flee. Why don't we show our guests some of our artwork? The children eagerly grabbed papers and crayons. I'm going to draw the big scaly one, Jiwoo announced. He looks like a dragon. Over the next hour, the children drew pictures, sang songs, and demonstrated a basic science experiment involving vinegar and baking soda. Through it all, the aliens watched with a mixture of horror and fascination. It was when Yoon approached the barrier again that things reached a crisis point.
Are you?
Excuse me, he said politely, addressing Velthros directly. We were thinking, you look really strong and fast. Would you want to play a game with us? We could play predator and prey. That's where some of us are predators and some are prey and we chase each other. It's really fun. Velthros made a sound like a dying engine.
I'll stick with you.
2 of the other aliens actually fled the observation room. The child just invited me to practice hunting techniques with him, Velthros said, his voice hollow, as recreation. He's trying to be friendly, Hana said weakly. He's describing military training exercises and calling them fun. Jiwoo joined Yoon at the barrier. Or we could play something else.
Where are you at?
Do you have games where you
I'm
come
gonna shoot
from?
up here.
We could learn those. There was something in her voice, innocent and genuinely interested, that made Velthros pause. She didn't see him as a threat. She didn't see him as anything but a potential friend who looked different.
All right, get inside,
I need to leave. Velthros said suddenly. He turned and walked out, his movements jerky with barely controlled panic. Day-One found him in the corridor outside, breathing heavily. "This was a mistake," the alien said. "I thought seeing them in person would prove they were harmless. But it's worse. So much worse. Why?" Day-One demanded. "Because they wanted to play with you? Because they weren't afraid? Because they should be afraid." Velthros roared. "I am a predator. My species has hunted for survival for millions of years. That child should have seen me and felt fear. Instead, she wanted to touch my scales. She thought I was pretty. And that's bad because it means human children have no survival instincts. Or worse, their survival instincts are so advanced that they've already assessed me as not a threat." Velthros's claws scraped against the metal wall. Either option is terrifying. "They're just children," Day-One said quietly. "They live in a world where they're safe, where strangers are usually kind, where differences are interesting, not dangerous." "Is that really so terrible?" Velthros was quiet for a long moment. "It's terrible because that kind of confidence, that lack of fear, combined with their tactical abilities and pack coordination." Ambassador Day-One, "If your species ever decided to become conquerors, nothing in the galaxy could stop you. And your children prove that potential exists in every human from birth." Down in the classroom, the children were packing up their supplies. Chiwu held up her drawing, a colorful picture of Velthros with a smile added to his fierce face. "Can we give this to him?" she asked Yuna. "Maybe it will make him happy." He looked sad. Yuna took the drawing with shaking hands. Above them, the council was preparing for an emergency session. The question was no longer whether humanity should be welcomed into the galactic community. The question was whether humanity should be allowed to exist at all. The council chamber was packed. Every species had sent representatives, and many had sent multiple delegates. Day-One stood in the center, feeling like a criminal on trial. In a way, he supposed all of humanity was on trial. Elder Mextar spoke first, its form shifting between solid and mist. "We have reviewed the footage from the cultural exchange. We have consulted our historical records. We have debated for many hours. The council has reached a preliminary conclusion." Day-One's heart sank at the word preliminary. Nothing good ever followed that word. Humanity fits the profile of what we call an apex evolutionary terminus species. In simpler terms, you are evolutionary predators of the highest order. Your children display characteristics that we have only seen in 5 other species throughout galactic history. A holographic display appeared, showing worlds that Day-One didn't recognize. Ruins, devastation, empty cities. "These are the homeworlds of those 5 species," Mixtar continued. "All extinct now, all destroyed by their own predatory nature turned inward. We're not like them." Day-One started, but Mixtar raised a tendril for silence. Perhaps not. That is what we must determine. We have brought in an expert to explain why your species developed as it did. Professor Sangmi, please present your findings. An elderly woman stepped forward from the human delegation. Professor Sangmi was in her 70s, a renowned evolutionary biologist who had studied human development for 5 decades. She moved slowly but spoke with clarity. "Thank you, Elder. What I'm about to share may be difficult for some species to hear, but it's important to understand Earth's unique evolutionary pressure." She activated her own display, showing Earth as it was thousands of years ago. Ice covered much of the land. Humans evolved during a period of extreme climate instability. Ice ages came and went. Food sources appeared and disappeared. Our ancestors faced challenges that would have destroyed most species. The display changed, showing various animals. Massive cats with knife-like teeth, bears larger than modern vehicles, wolves hunting in coordinated packs. But the environment wasn't the only threat. Humans shared their world with multiple apex predators. Big cats that could kill a human in seconds. Bears that could tear through anything. Wolves that hunted in packs just like humans did. Any of these creatures could easily kill a human adult, let alone a human child. Velthros leaned forward, his attention caught. "How did you survive?" "Intelligence, tools, cooperation, and yes, training our young from the earliest age." Sangmi pulled up images of ancient human children. Human children had to learn fast because the mortality rate was extremely high. Those who couldn't adapt, who couldn't learn to recognize danger and respond appropriately, didn't survive to have children of their own. "So human children are dangerous because they had to be," a crystalline delegate observed. Not dangerous, Sangmi corrected gently. Adaptable. There's a difference. Human children developed enhanced learning capabilities because those who learned faster survived. They developed curiosity because those who understood their environment better survived. They developed social bonds and cooperation because humans who worked together survived. Dr. Taeyang stepped forward to join the presentation. And here's the crucial part. As human civilization developed, as we built safer environments, that evolutionary programming didn't disappear. It got redirected. She showed footage of modern children again, but this time with annotations explaining each behavior. Children climb because their ancestors needed to climb trees to escape predators and find food. They run and chase because their ancestors needed speed and endurance. They form social groups because their ancestors survived through cooperation. They test boundaries because their ancestors needed to understand what was safe and what wasn't. But you no longer need these skills, Glork said. Your world is safe now, yet you still allow this behavior. Because we learned something important, Dr. Taeyang replied. Children who aren't allowed to take any risks, who are protected from every possible harm, they grow up anxious and unable to function. They become adults who can't make decisions, can't handle stress, can't adapt to change. So you sacrifice some children for the strength of the species? Another delegate asked, its tone accusing. No, Daewon stepped in. We don't sacrifice anyone. Modern human children are safer than at any point in our history. We have medicine, safety equipment, supervision. The death rate for children during play activities is less than 0.01%. But not zero, Velthro said quietly, echoing his earlier words. No, Daewon admitted, not zero. Because we've learned that trying to make the world completely safe is impossible. And more importantly, it's not healthy. Children need to learn their own capabilities. They need to experience minor failures so they can handle major challenges later. Mextar's form pulsed thoughtfully. You speak of learning and adaptation. But what concerns the Council is what happens when resources become scarce. When humans feel threatened, your children prove you have the capability for violence. What stops you from using it? Choice, said a small voice. Everyone turned. Jiwoo stood at the back of the chamber holding Yoon's hand. Both children wore formal clothes that looked uncomfortable. Children aren't allowed in council sessions, someone protested. They were specifically requested, Mextar said. I wanted to ask them directly. Young Jiwoo, please approach. The little girl walked forward, showing no fear of the assembled aliens, and followed protectively, his eyes scanning the room as if memorizing exits. Even now, the boy assesses threats, Velthros muttered. Jiwoo, Mixtar said gently, its form becoming softer and less threatening. Can you tell us why you weren't afraid when you met the alien delegates? Jiwoo thought about this seriously. Why would I be? You looked sad and lonely. I wanted to be friends, but we could have hurt you. Some of us are much bigger and stronger than you. So are my teachers, Jiwoo said simply. So is my dad. So are lots of people. But they don't hurt me. They help me and teach me. I thought maybe you were the same. And if we had tried to hurt you, Mixtar pressed. Jiwoo looked at Yoon, who stepped forward. Then we would have run away and told an adult. That's what you're supposed to do if someone tries to hurt you. Not fight back? Felthros asked, surprised. We're kids, Yoon said, as if this were obvious. We can't fight grown-ups. That's what adults are for. They protect us while we learn. Sangmi smiled. You see? Even with all their capabilities, human children understand their children. They know they need adults. They know they're still learning. But what happens when they become adults? Glorx demanded. When they're fully trained in all these tactical skills you disguise as play? Mom says the best way to stop being scared is to learn about things, Yoon said. So we wanted to learn about you. That's why I asked if you wanted to play. I thought if we played together, we'd understand each other better. And if we become enemies? Velthros asked. If our species go to war, what then? Yoon looked confused. Why would we go to war? We just met you? Resources, territory, ideological differences, Velthros listed. Couldn't we just share? Jiwoo asked. That's what we do at school. When there's not enough of something, we take turns or split it up. It's not that hard. The simplicity of her answer hung in the air. An 8-year-old child had just proposed a solution to millennia of galactic conflict. But humans have had wars, another delegate pointed out. Your own history is filled with violence. Yes, Day One acknowledged.
He's running left side.
We have
over
terrible
here.
wars. Millions dead.
Yep, that way.
Atrocities we still haven't forgiven ourselves for. But we learned from them. We built organizations to prevent war. We created laws to protect people.
Middle,
We
center.
teach our children that violence is a last resort,
Bitch.
not a first option. The difference, Professor Sangmi added, between humans and the other apex species you mentioned is this. We chose to channel our predatory instincts into curiosity,
I'm out of here.
exploration and creation rather than conquest. We could have taken over our planet through force. Instead, we built democracies.
I'm gonna die.
We could have wiped out species we competed with.
Wait.
Instead, we created
Don't
conservation
leave me.
programs.
I'm coming.
You still have weapons, Glorix pointed out.
Go, 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 go.
Military forces.
Destiny.
The capability for violence. Of course, Day One said.
Hello.
Because we're not naive.
I don't know, she's still there.
We know
She's
there
still-
are threats in the
she's down to
universe.
fight.
But having the
Blood.
capability for violence and choosing to use it are different things.
She's right here. She's
That's what it means to be civilized, Velthro stood, his massive form towering
We're
over the
already
children.
like fucking
Both Jiwoo
bitches.
and Yoon looked up at him without flinching. I have a question for you, young ones, he said. If you could have any power in the universe, what would you choose? Jiwoo answered immediately. I'd want to talk to animals. Then I could ask my cat why he knocks things off tables. Several delegates made sounds that might have been laughter. Yin thought longer. I'd want to heal people. My grandma's sick.
Wait,
I'd make her
sound again?
better, not conquest.
Aw, fuck this.
Not power
Get
over
outta
others.
here.
Simple, innocent wishes from children who had been raised
long
by a
as we get ahead
species
so
of
that we
predators
have,
Mextar's form,
an advantage.
pulsed with what might have been emotion. I have seen much in my long life. I have seen species rise and fall. I have seen potential wasted and potential fulfilled. These children represent something I have rarely witnessed. Predatory capability combined with compassionate upbringing. The elder's form grew larger, more formal. The question before us is not whether humans are dangerous.
Oh,
The
this
fleet
is,
of alien
you
vessels
hit
descended
the,
on Earth like a strange
the immortal.
constellation. 47 species, each in their own ship, each with their own security protocols and fears. For many,
Hey, shut
this
up.
was the first time they had visited a planet where they were not the dominant predator. Daewon watched from the landing site as the ships touched down across multiple locations.
You're
Urban
dead now,
centers,
bitch.
rural areas, coastal regions, mountains. The council had insisted on seeing everything, and Earth's governments had reluctantly agreed. This could go very wrong, Hana said, standing beside him. Or very right, Daewon replied. But he didn't sound convinced.
Becca tripping. She
The first
tripping. I know.
observation site was a playground in Seoul.
Alright, I gotta go,
It was 3 in the
Destiny.
afternoon,
I'm outta
and
here.
children were being let out of school. Within minutes, the playground was full of running, laughing,
No,
climbing
not
children.
really completely.
Velthro stood behind a barrier, watching. Next to him, a dozen other alien delegates
Oh,
observed
shit.
in silence.
There's a whole
They
fucking
moved so
thing
fast,
of
one
them.
murmured.
Oh,
A group of
no,
boys were
it's
playing
big.
soccer, their movements coordinated despite no obvious leadership. On the swings, children launched themselves into the air, seeming to defy gravity. At the climbing structure, kids scaled heights that made several aliens look away. That child is at least 4 meters off the ground,
Honestly, I kinda
Glork
was just
said,
being stupid because
pointing,
I knew I didn't
with no
have any
safety
fucking
equipment.
shields or anything.
The structure is designed to be safe, Hana explained. The surface below is cushioned.
Love it.
The bars are checked regularly. Adults supervise. But accidents can still happen, Velthro said.
Also, guys, I'm new here.
Yes,
Don't judge me.
Hana
I just
admitted.
started playing this game
Sometimes
like
a
2 weeks
child
ago.
falls. Sometimes they get hurt, but it's part of learning.
I don't know,
They
it's probably
watched
been
as
like
a small
week.
girl slipped from a bar and
It's
fell.
been like 2 weeks.
She hit the ground hard. Several aliens gasped, but the girl got up, brushed herself off, and climbed
Right
back
now?
up. She tried the same move again, this time more carefully. On the third attempt, she succeeded. Her face lit up with
I'm
triumph.
at lobby.
She fell and immediately tried again. Velthro said quietly. No fear, no hesitation. That's resilience, Dr. Tae Yang said. She had joined the observation group. That's what we're trying to teach them. That failure isn't the end. It's just information.
Yeah, I've
The
been
next
eating
stop was a
drinks for,
school in
like,
rural Korea. It was smaller,
week.
more intimate. An elderly
Even
couple,
at,
Hyun and Bora, ran the school from a
Christmas,
converted
I didn't even really
farmhouse.
drink. I
They had taught children here for
barely
40
drink, to be
years.
honest.
Inside, 20 children of various ages sat in a circle.
Yeah, I drank, but not really.
They were
like,
having a discussion about environmental conservation.
Yeah.
The alien delegates observed from outside, listening through translators. But if we protect all the forests, where will people build houses? Asked a 9-year-old. We have to find balance, an older
What do you
student
mean?
replied.
You never told me.
We need homes, but we also need nature. What if we built up instead of out? Another child suggested.
Are you
Tall
sure?
buildings
Are you
that
sure
use less
didn't
land?
happen in your head?
The discussion continued, the children proposing solutions to complex
Are you
problems.
sure?
They disagreed, they debated,
I
but
don't
they
think
listened to
you
each
told me
other.
that.
Hyun noticed the observers and came outside.
What was
He was
my
in his
answer?
70s with kind eyes and weathered hands. "Welcome," he said, bowing to the aliens. Several tried to bow back and nearly toppled over. "You teach them
say
young,"
no.
Mextar observed. "Philosophy, ethics, problem solving. We
Okay,
teach
then I
them to
didn't say
think,"
no.
Hyun replied. "And to
Do you know
care.
this?
Strong
Shut the
minds and
hell,
kind
10
hearts.
employed, 10
That's our goal.
gifted is crazy.
But you also teach them combat,"
I could do
Velthro
it,
said,
but will I do
gesturing to a poster showing martial arts
What if
positions.
you're saying that and
Bora
you're not really
laughed.
gonna gift me?
"We teach them discipline and self-control through martial arts. But the first lesson, the
I
most
missed
important
your,
lesson is when to
streak,
fight,"
frogs.
which
Oh
is,
my God, I'm
Glorix
horrible.
asked.
Thank you for the streak.
"When you have
That
no
was
other
my
choice," Bora
5
said
streaks,
simply.
that's it.
"When talking fails, when
Oh,
running
fuck.
fails, when all peaceful options are exhausted. Only then.
5 now, then 5
Fighting is the
later.
last
Ooh,
option, not the
Lisa.
first."
She's a businesswoman. She
Inside,
knows.
the children had finished their discussion. They were now working on a group project,
Honestly,
building a model of a sustainable community. They negotiated, compromised, built
I'm trying to get some
together.
V-Bucks here, too.
They could be building weapons, Velthro said. Fortifications. With their skills, they could be training for war. They
You know
could
what
be,
sucks? It's
Hyun
like,
agreed. But we teach them to build
this will
gardens instead,
definitely-
to create
this
instead
will
of
definitely give me
destroy.
heartburn
Every
because
day we
it's-
make that choice. Every day we show them a better way.
You see this?
The observations continued
That
for
too?
3
Like, go read
days.
it.
The aliens saw children in cities and villages, in schools and homes, in structured environments and free
Holy
play.
mother.
They saw children being taught mathematics and music,
Yeah, it's gonna
science
give
and
me
art,
heartburn.
history and philosophy.
Can I chug?
But they also saw something
Can I
else.
chug a buzzball instead?
They saw adults constantly intervening to keep children
That will
safe.
give me heartburn.
They saw parents who had built an entire civilization around
Thank you for
protecting
your
their young,
transaction.
while still letting them grow
A
strong.
buzzball? 'Cause that will definitely
On the
give me
final
heartburn
day,
because of
the
tomato
council
juice.
gathered in a converted auditorium. Ji-woo and Yoon stood at the front with a dozen
All right,
other children.
Let me go get the buzzball then.
They had prepared a presentation. "We learned a lot about you," Ji-woo began. Her voice was small but clear.
I need a blue one.
"About your planets and your cultures and your
I
families."
want a blue one instead of a green
Yoon
one.
operated a display showing drawings and notes the
thank you
children
so
had
much for the
made.
gifted.
"We
I
learned
might
that some of you come from water
have a green
worlds,
one for sure.
some from
Let me
desert
see.
planets,
Let
some
me-
from
let me
places
call
we
my
can't
plug.
even imagine." Another child spoke up. "We learned that you're different from us in many ways, but also
Yeah,
the same
let
in
me see.
important ways. We all want to be safe," a small boy added. "We all care about our families," said a girl with glasses. "We all want to learn and grow," Un continued. Ji-woo stepped forward. "We know you're scared of us.
Oh, the
We
reason why
heard
I
the
want
adults
blue too is because,
talking.
one, I do like
They
the blue
said you
ones,
think human children are
and
dangerous."
because of
The
Fortnite.
honesty of it made several delegates
do
shift
Fortnite.
uncomfortably.
Okay,
"Maybe
so
we
I'm
are a
gonna
little
check
dangerous,"
who
Ji-woo
left.
admitted. "We're strong and we learn fast and we're not scared of much. But
Oh.
being strong doesn't mean being mean.
Um,
My dad is really strong, but
I
he's
might
also
buy the
really
Lisa
gentle.
bundle for
He taught me
myself.
that strong
That's
people have a
crazy,
responsibility
BJ.
to
I thought you were
protect
gonna
weak
me.
people,
That's me.
not hurt them." Yoon nodded. "Our teachers say that the measure of a person isn't what they can do. It's what they choose to do. We could choose to be bullies. Some kids do,
Okay,
but
so
we don't
I-
want to."
Don't leave.
"We
I
want to be
am getting
friends."
a buzzball,
The
but
children's
I will chug it.
presentation continued.
I
They
promise
talked
you.
about what they wanted for the future. Exploring space, yes. Meeting new species,
I
definitely.
don't have Lisa.
But also ending hunger, protecting animals,
Uh,
keeping the
buzzballs
oceans
are like
clean,
14,
making sure everyone had
50%
homes and
alcohol,
schools and hospitals.
so-
Dreams of children who had been raised by predators but taught to be protectors. When they finished,
But I am
the
definitely gonna chug
auditorium
it. I'm
was
just waiting
silent.
on the buzzball.
Elder Mextar rose, its form
Give
shimmering.
me a little
"I
bit.
have a question for you, young ones. In all the galaxy, among all the species we have encountered, do you know what is most rare?"
Look at-
The children shook their heads.
Look who I have
Hope.
here.
Mixtar said softly. "Most species reach the stars because they must. Because their world is dying or their resources are depleted. They explore out of desperation, not wonder. But you came to space because you wanted to see what was out there. Because you were curious." The elder's form grew brighter. "I have lived for thousands of your years.
Diamond.
I have seen civilizations rise and fall. And I have learned that the most dangerous species are not the ones with the most weapons or the strongest bodies. The most dangerous species are the ones who have given up hope, who see only enemies and resources to be exploited." Megstar looked at each council member in turn. "These children are strong,
Sleeping on the chair that's
frighteningly
put on
so. They have capabilities that could make them conquerors, but they are being taught to be gardeners instead, to build instead of destroy, to wonder instead of fear. They are still young," Velthros said. "What happens when they grow up? When they face real hardships? Then we'll remember what we were taught," Yoon said firmly. "My grandpa fought in a war. He told me it was the worst time of his life. He said war doesn't make you strong. It just makes you sad. He said the real strength is choosing not to fight when you could. Jiwoo added,
I will keep my
and
word.
if someone tries to hurt us or our friends, we'll protect each other. But that doesn't mean we have to be mean. It just means we have to be brave. The vote was called. One by one, the delegates registered their decision. It was close. Terrifyingly close. But in the end,
See?
the majority voted for integration, not isolation. Humanity will be welcomed into the galactic community, Mextar
why the
announced.
fuck?
With conditions. You will undergo a mentorship period. You will participate in cultural
Let's go,
exchanges.
Ray-chick.
You will allow continued observation of your child-rearing practices.
I'm waiting for
And you
it,
will
and
help
then
us
I will do
understand
it.
how to channel predatory capability toward peaceful ends.
It's like
Velthro
2
stood.
shots.
I volunteer to be
Honestly,
humanity's liaison. If I can learn not to
Did
fear
she
human
fight?
children, I can learn anything. 5 years later, the Unity Station orbited
Wait, DJ,
between
did you
Earth and the
just gift her
Council
that?
worlds.
And you
It had
didn't
become a
even give to
hub for
me?
cultural exchange, with species from across the galaxy coming to learn and teach. In one of its many classrooms, Jiwoo, now a teenager, was teaching a group of young aliens a
Do you
modified
wanna,
version of tag. The rules had been carefully adapted to account for different species' abilities. Remember, she said patiently to a small, slug-like
Yeah.
child who was Glorix's nephew, the goal isn't to win, it's to have fun together. Yoon supervised from the side, making sure everyone played safely. He had become interested in xenobiology, fascinated by the differences and similarities between species.
Prox is on too.
Velthros watched from the doorway. He no longer felt fear when he saw human children play.
Get that fucking
Instead,
raider
he
shit
felt something
outta
else,
here.
something that took him years to identify.
That's
Hope.
crazy. Now-
Because if humanity could evolve as apex predators and choose compassion, if they could raise children to be both strong and kind, then maybe there was hope for the whole galaxy. Maybe predators could learn to be protectors.
I won't